Welcome everybody to the top 10 best fantasy anime of all time. My name is Misty/Chronexia, and my channel here on YouTube has for a long time been the HUD, starting point for people looking for new anime to watch. Throughout the years, we've had newcomers, people leaving, people coming back, and eventually I felt like I've had compiled a really good library of compilations in a way. Each video was a standalone, but I always made it a point to never reuse a title in another list I had going on. That was all well and good until the Copyright Nation attacked and cannibalized my library from 2014 to 2016 almost entirely. So I've been thinking about a way to redo this library while keeping it accurate, but still make it fresh for the new eyes, so here's how this list is gonna play out. I'll have a factual top 10 spot, but for every slot we will have dual entries. One side of the coin will be the recommendation for newcomers, the objective best fantasy anime. The other side of the coin will be a rarer title equally as good for people who have seen the more popular counterpart. But don't you worry, it'll make sense when we start. Let me show you! Number 10, Sword Art Online and Grimgar. Sword Art Online is rather infamous for being either a fan favorite or a complete whiff. That being said, it doesn't take away the fact that millions of people have seen it and has enjoyed to a certain degrees. The premise is about a brand new VR experience that launches, and a guy that used to playtest the game finally gets to log in day one. Slight twist, there's no logout button, and dying in-game kills you in real life. Yikes. Some people are very vocal about disliking this show, but it's popular for a reason. I definitely recommend it for newcomers. However, if you've seen it and you like the video game premise with real-life threatening case, what I would recommend instead is for you to check out an anime called Grimgar. A story about a group of people who wake up in a brand new world and they have quests to accomplish. They decide to form a party/guild and they grind their experience up according to their class. Incredibly underrated in my opinion, but equally as good, if not better even. Number 9, Konosuba and Ascendance of a Bookworm. Let's talk about isekai comedies for a second. I think without a doubt in the fantasy realm of comedy combo, the crown goes without a doubt to Konosuba. 4 unlikely allies team up in a world to take on the Demon King, but you can clearly see they are severely outmatched for a quest such as this. The comedy is top tier and the world is rich of gut-busting fun. But if you've already seen it, I have another recommendation for you. Ascendance of a Bookworm. While the comedy will never rival the laughter you'll get in Konosuba, Ascendance of a Bookworm outshines it in a lot of department. It's still a fantasy isekai comedy, so you won't feel too out of place, but Bookworm is a story about a girl who dies and gets reincarnated as a 5-year-old in a time where books are rather scarce. So she goes on a quest to find more. Number 8, Spice and Wolf and Katanagatari. Spice and Wolf is the story of Lawrence, a traveling merchant who one day meets a naked girl in his carriage. Turns out this girl is a wolf deity and is intrigued about the world around them. They decide to travel together, where Lawrence gets to teach her about all the fantastic world of economics. I'll admit the premise on paper sounds like a snore, but it really shines through their complicity and the richness of the characters. However, if you've seen this one, I'll recommend you an equally good one, but much lesser known, called Katanagatari. Similar era-ish, although different part of the world, similar character bonding. However, Katanagatari has a focus more on action, while Spice and Wolf is more about that slice-of-life romantic ambience. I recommend both wholeheartedly. Number 7, No Game, No Life, or Persona 3, 4, 5, whichever. You can't really talk about fantasy without ever mentioning No Game, No Life, another isekai anime where the main two protagonists, a boy and his sister, goes to another world where every conflict is resolved by playing a game. any game, from rock, paper, scissors to chess, with everything in between. It's clever and thoughtful. You'll get sucked in as soon as you watch the first episode. Unless you've already seen it. In which case, my counter recommendation is, what's a good isekai-ish anime with action conflicts that's also a game? Well, this is a little take on it, but Persona. Of course, the video game counterpart severely outshines them, but the anime did a mighty fine job if you're not a gamer yourself. Each new iteration is a brand new story, so yeah, go ahead and watch 3, and they made a bunch of movies about the story, and 4, and 5 if you must, but it's definitely the weaker one of the 3. But again, that's only if you cannot play the games, because you'll be missing out on so much more. Number 6, Re:Zero and Kikai Sensan. We're not entirely done with isekai anime. After all, they're almost all exclusively about fantasy, so it makes sense they appear quite a lot in this list. One of the most famous one being Re:Zero, a story about a guy who magically gets teleported to another world where whenever he's killed, times wind back up and set him up again with the memory of the failed attempt. Kind of like loading a video game save file after dying, until he can find the right path to the next checkpoint. Now, I thought about a similarly dark and gritty isekai counterpart, and I feel the closest experience I can give you, while remaining in the world of fantasy, would be Kikai Sensan. Both series have 2 seasons each. They both about a main character trying to do what's best for his friends, and they have a unique ability to help them in that skill. Kikai Sensan is about a teenager who's stuck amidst a chaotic New York and joins a group of people to stop supernatural monsters, in a nutshell. Number 5, Fate Zero, or Drifters. There's no way you can pass right over the Fate franchise when it comes down to fantasy. A story of epic proportions, where ancient legends come back, summoned by people to duke it out, Battle Royale style, for a shiny trophy. The Fate franchise has multiple spin-offs: Zero,
Unlimited Blade Works, Fate Stay Night, Apocrypha, Heaven's Field, Grand Order.
You pick your poison, or you watch my Chronexiology. Wink wink. I recommend Zero because you're a tough cookie, you can start with the best one. But if you've seen all 3 main ones, I'll hype up Drifters instead. Drifters is also an all-out battle with historical figures, so I'd say it's the closest match you can find. Both are revered as tectonic players, but Drifters is a bit more low-key, so less likely you've seen it. Number 4, Maiden Abyss and Land of the Lustrous. Maiden Abyss is an anime that came out in 2016, a story about a young girl who lives on the surface and goes spelunking for treasures down in the abyss. One day, as she goes exploring, she finds a shut-down automaton that she rescues back up. Together, they keep going on adventure. It's a strange world down below, and you must do what you can to survive no matter what. Stunning visuals, lovable characters, and a season 2 coming up in the distant future. If you've been pushing it back, this is the divine intervention that you needed to finally crunch it down. But if you've seen it, let me recommend you Land of the Lustrous instead. A world where every person is a gem. In the literal sense of the word, people are made of gemstone. In a world where some moon people are trying to harvest them, so they must fight them off. Number 3, Attack on Titan, or Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress. Of course, Attack on Titan made the list. It's the greatest adventure of a decade entirely. The first season came out in 2012, and its final season is wrapping up this fall. I guarantee it will blow you out of the water. A story about a group of people living inside a castle-like community, for beyond the wall lives calamities, giants that will eat you up if you dare venture forth. Until one day, these giants said, screw this, and busted through the wall. Nowhere is safe. So Eren, the main character, goes through a military training to take on these giant monsters. So what's a lesser known fantasy anime that hits the same notes, yet is equally good? Well, the first episode of Decadence was gonna be my original suggestion, but it doesn't really live up to Attack on Titan's legacy, so instead, how about Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, made by the same studio that did Attack on Titan, except instead of fortifying yourself inside a wall from giants, it's away from zombies-like creatures. The story is about a team that goes out there to gather some resources. I recommend the 3 movies over the TV series for Kabaneri though, but again, it always ends up being your pick.
せっかくリオール行きの切符買ったのにキャンセルだね。しょうがね。
Number 2, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, or Bacano. I don't think anyone would let me live if I didn't include the king of anime in this list. Of course, it goes beyond saying that Fullmetal Alchemist is one of the greatest gifts to the anime industry, and if you have never seen it, you have a great show in store for you. A story about 2 brothers who try to play God and bring back their dead mother with the help of alchemy, only for it to backfire back on them. Accepting defeat, they try to find a way to restore their mistake back with the legendary Philosopher's Stone. So Misty, good luck finding an equally good but lesser known anime about alchemy, right? You think I'm out of my depth, that there's nothing even remotely in the ballpark? But you're wrong. Ever heard about the anime Bacano? I'd highly recommend it if you haven't. Just like Fullmetal Alchemist, it's about alchemy, but the story jumps around a bit. It's a very solid show, and I'll let you experience it on your own. And the ultimate number 1 spot belongs to Hunter x Hunter, the 2011 version, or Legend of the Legendary Heroes. If you've never seen Hunter x Hunter, you have to put that show on the top of your list. It's a legacy of a lifetime. You'll binge watch the entire thing in a week, all 148 episodes. The show has no equal. A story about a 10-year-old boy who goes on a quest to find his dad. No, he's not black. He becomes a hunter, a work class that allows him to travel and take any kind of job that's beyond a normal person. A glorified mercenary, if you must. Along the way, he meets some friends who tag along, and look, it's incomparable. Nothing past or future can live up to this show, but I'll give it a shot anyway. Legend of the Legendary Heroes, an animated focus mainly on magic, fantasy, and adventure with quest-alike, dungeons, and the whole seeking thrill experience. Look, of course, if you compare it to Hunter x Hunter, it doesn't live up, nothing does. But as a standalone adventure fantasy, I'll recommend it 10 out of 10 days. Great underrated show. Here you have it, 10 absolute classic fantasy anime with 10 additional counterparts that will possibly offer equally good content in a similar thematic. Let me know if you enjoy this new format. I tried to merge my old school doppelganger format with this top 10 style, and I think it turned out rather well. So it can work for both newcomers and veterans. Of course, the elite veterans are more likely to have seen just about anything regardless, but I mean, anime as a resource is still pretty finite. Once you've seen just all the good stuff, it's just downhill from there. You can often get some niche cool experience, which are the ones I try to highlight, but even those, to an extent, finite as well. So if you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more. We do these lists weekly, and we'll definitely have more on the way as I try to restore my ancient library of top 10s that have been slaughtered by copyrights. Later, skaters!
Hard times, I've been on the wrong side, I've been ashamed. So many memories, you know I'd like to change.